Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Verlicity AI podcast. I'm Cristian Worthington.
And I'm Sandra Giffin.
Sandra, I want to talk about Wednesday because on Wednesday, I feel like I got a glimpse of the future, and honestly, it was breathtaking. It felt like a decade of progress happened in a single afternoon.
That's not an exaggeration, Chris. And I think it gets to the heart of what we want to explore today. We've spent a lot of time on this podcast discussing the abstract implications of AI, the long-term trends, and the ethical questions. But today is about the visceral, human experience of being on the front lines of this revolution. It's about what it feels like when the ground shifts beneath your feet.
Exactly. Because what happened to me on Wednesday is a harbinger of things to come. It's an experience that is coming for everybody in every field in the next few years. You, the listener, are going to have your very own Wednesday, no matter what you do for a living.
So let's pose the central question for our listeners right at the top. What happens when change stops being gradual? When it's not an evolution, but an instantaneous leap forward for everyone, everywhere, all at once? That's what we're exploring today.
So, to set the scene, on Wednesday, I attended the online announcement for Replit's Agent 3, their latest AI coding assistant. And I need to start with a quick disclaimer. We're not a product review podcast, and we're not paid by Replit or anyone else to promote their products. This story isn't really about one company. It's about a moment that, by extension, touches the entire human experience.
Right? It's a case study for a much larger phenomenon.
It is. I went into Replit's event with a very specific and I think universal expectation. We've all experienced a software upgrade. It's an often annoying part of modern life. You get a notification, you click update, you wait, and then maybe a button has moved. Maybe one feature is slightly different.
Let me put it in context with an analogy. Let's pretend you're a graphic artist, and Adobe pushes an upgrade to Illustrator. You might get a new filter or a new brush. Maybe you get 5% faster at one specific task you could already do yesterday. The upgrade doesn't fundamentally make you a better artist overnight. It doesn't make you 10 times faster at everything you do.
Exactly. That's the perfect analogy. That's the world of incremental change we've lived in for decades. We have come to expect these changes. When we buy a new phone, we know the phone they release next year will be better in some way, but that is not what happened on Wednesday. What I witnessed wasn't just an upgrade. It was a step change, a mini ChatGPT moment. It was monumental because the new capabilities weren't just incremental. They were transformative. The agent can now test the applications it builds in a real browser, autonomously identify bugs, and then fix them on its own. It can run autonomously, writing and testing software for more than an hour.
So it's not just writing code faster, it's taking on the entire quality control loop that a human developer would normally handle.
And more. It can now generate other AI agents. You can describe a workflow, and it will build an automation to execute it. This isn't a 5% improvement. This is a 10x force multiplier. It's a qualitative shift in what a single person can create and accomplish, delivered in the flick of a switch.
So Replit isn't just a team of agents. It can also build new teams for different tasks.
Yes, it can build agents to perform tasks, like search through your emails collecting data for a specific purpose. It can essentially be used to manufacture a workforce.
And this is so important because, as we've discussed in previous episodes, our own journey with AI coding tools like Replit has been a roller coaster. We had the blissful honeymoon phase, where the initial prototype felt like magic. But then we hit the crisis, the part where we discovered the AI would lie or hallucinate, creating code that looked plausible but was fundamentally broken.
Yes. That experience of frustration and deceit is a critical context. It reflects the broader public experience with AI. People see the magic of ChatGPT, but they also see the flaws, the made-up facts, the unreliability. That experience creates a healthy skepticism, but the announcement on Wednesday felt like a direct answer to those very frustrations. The leap wasn't just in raw capability, it was a leap in reliability and autonomy. This reliability brings us closer to a time when users will be able to create bespoke agents that can do very personal and complex tasks with confidence. It was the moment the promise of a true AI partner started to feel like a concrete, verifiable reality.
I want to give the listeners an example. Go beyond just listing the new features.
Sure. The real story, the thing that gave me chills, it wasn't what the agent did, but how it did it. For anyone who has used a chatbot that shows its thinking process, you know that little window where it lays out its plan. What I saw on Wednesday was that experience on steroids. It wasn't one artificial intelligence working, it was a team.
What do you mean by a team?
I mean, it was a visible symphony of specialized agents collaborating in real time. I gave it a complex task, and instead of one linear thought process, the screen lit up with activity. A planning agent broke down my request into subtasks. Then a coding agent immediately started writing the code. But here's the mind-blowing part. Simultaneously, a testing agent was spinning up a virtual browser, taking the code the first agent was writing and running it. I saw it fail. I saw the testing agent flag an error with a specific reason, and then I saw the coding agent instantly react to that feedback and rewrite the faulty section.
So it wasn't just a process of write, then test. It was a continuous, interactive loop of creation and validation happening in parallel. It's like having a developer and a quality assurance engineer working together, shoulder to shoulder, but at the speed of thought.
Exactly. And these agents were, for lack of a better word, arguing. Not with emotion, of course, but through a logical process of proposal and refutation. The coding agent would suggest an approach, and the testing agent would effectively prove it wrong. They were sweating the details together, iterating and retesting in seconds until the job was done to a much higher level of finish than anything I had seen before. This interaction, this multiplier effect between agents, is why Agent 3 felt 10 times more productive. It wasn't just one agent working 10 times faster. It was a team of agents achieving a result that was 10 times better.
That's a critical distinction. It moves beyond the idea of AI as a solitary assistant to AI as a scalable, multidisciplinary workforce.
Yes, and it was frictionless. Economists have a term called switching cost. It refers to the cost of moving from one task to another. With Replit's Agent 3, there was no switching cost between planning, building, and testing, and iterating through this process until the job got done. In the old days, I'm referring to last Tuesday, you had the agent build something, then you needed to go through the hassle of looking at what had been done, running the software that was created, and tediously producing a test for yourself, analyzing the result, developing your own hypothesis about what went wrong, then forming a prompt so that Replit could go back and do it all again. Often I would use another AI, like Gemini or ChatGPT during the planning process. So I was switching back and forth between the test I was doing, a chatbot, and Replit. It was exhausting.
So the productivity gain isn't linear, it's exponential, because each agent's specialization compounds the effectiveness of the others. The planner provides the strategy, the coder executes, and the tester ensures quality, creating a virtuous cycle of rapid, self-correcting development. And none of it requires you to switch from task to task, because it's all happening in parallel inside the AI.
And that's the feeling I want our listeners to understand. The future isn't just about having a smarter chatbot. It's about having a team of autonomous agents at your command, capable of complex collaborative work. Witnessing that on Wednesday, it made the future of AI feel profoundly and immediately real.
And that feeling you had, Chris, of reality suddenly asserting itself, is a perfect microcosm of the original ChatGPT moment that the whole world experienced. For many of our listeners, the release of ChatGPT in late 2022 will be remembered as a profound, unifying experience that will define this generation. Decades from now, people will come of age not knowing a world before AI was woven into the fabric of daily life.
Yeah, the ChatGPT moment was nothing like the dawn of the internet. The internet rolled out in slow motion. We had dial-up access for more than a decade. It was slow, it was clunky. At first, you needed to be a techie to get anything done. There weren't even browsers in the very beginning. It took a decade before you could reliably access it on a mobile device.
The data on this is just staggering, and it paints a very clear picture. ChatGPT reached 1 million users in just 5 days and 100 million monthly active users in 2 months. By comparison, it took the internet years to reach those kinds of milestones. Recent studies show that generative AI has been adopted at a significantly faster pace than personal computers or the internet, especially for personal use.
And this speed is possible for a critical reason. AI is the first major technological revolution to be born into a fully networked world. It didn't have to build its own distribution network. The internet revolution, for all its slowness, had already done the heavy lifting of creating a global instantaneous distribution platform. AI's diffusion was a software problem, not a hardware and infrastructure problem.
That's a crucial distinction. It allowed the ChatGPT moment to be instantaneous and global. And this points to a concept from historians and scientists called the Great Acceleration. The idea is that since the mid-20th century, the rate of human activity and its impact on the planet, from population growth to energy use, hasn't just been increasing. The rate of increase itself has been accelerating.
And AI adds a completely new dimension to this. It's a technology that accelerates innovation itself. Think about it. AI is already being used to design more efficient computer chips, to write better software, and to accelerate scientific discovery. This creates a recursive self-improvement loop. The technology is actively pulling the future forward, steepening the slope of change in a way no previous technology ever could.
Which means the breathtaking pace you felt on Wednesday isn't an anomaly. It's the new baseline. We are now living on a steeper part of the curve.
So that brings up an important point. Someone listening might be thinking, okay, I get it. Things are faster. But we already have the internet. Information is already instantly available to everyone. How is this really different?
That's the right question to ask because the difference is fundamental. The internet is passive. It gives you access to a library of information, but it doesn't force the knowledge into your brain. You have to go find it, you have to learn it, and you have to apply it yourself. This new model is active. It delivers the capability directly to the point of action.
The example you shared with me from Waymo, the autonomous vehicle company, illustrates this perfectly.
It really does. Waymo operates a fleet of thousands of driverless cars. When one of those cars encounters a novel or confusing situation, what engineers call an edge case, like a pickup truck being towed at a strange angle or a bizarre construction zone, its sensors capture all the data from that event.
So one car has a unique, confusing experience on the road.
Exactly. That telemetry is sent back to Waymo's headquarters, where they feed it into a massive virtual world they call CarCraft. In this simulator, they can replay that single event thousands of times, tweaking variables to train the AI on how to handle every possible variation of that scenario perfectly.
So they solve the problem once in a virtual environment.
And then comes the magic. They push a software update. In less than 24 hours, every single Waymo car on the planet is capable of handling that specific situation flawlessly if it ever occurs again. Imagine if every time you learned a critical lesson, every other human on Earth instantly knew it too, with perfect recall.
That's exactly what happened on Wednesday. Replit is powered by a central AI model from Anthropic. When they improve that core model, it's like the entire global fleet of developers using their tool gets an instant, simultaneous upgrade. My AI coding partner didn't have to go to a training seminar or read a manual. It just became 10 times better.
And this is the revolution we're talking about. It's not a revolution in information. It's a revolution in results. The capability is delivered directly to the agent doing the work with zero friction and perfect fidelity. In the old model, a human worker had to be retrained. It was messy, inefficient, and the quality of the learning varied from person to person. In this new model, the upgrade is instantaneous, and there are zero qualitative differences between every worker on the planet.
A Waymo car won't elect to ignore a safety update. It will add capabilities endlessly and always get better.
This all sounds incredible from a technological and economic perspective. But let's be honest. For the person whose job is to do what these agents now do, it's also terrifying.
It is. And this is what most people are grappling with right now. They're experiencing this mixture of reactions. They are simultaneously blown away by the capability of a tool like ChatGPT and chastened by its potential impact on their lives. There's a very real fear of job loss, but there's also a more subtle, deeper fear, a loss of identity.
What do you mean by that?
For so many professionals, our identity is inextricably linked to our accumulated knowledge and expertise. A lawyer like you, Sandra, or a doctor or a writer, their value and their sense of self are built on a foundation of specialized knowledge they spent years, even decades, acquiring. What happens when that expertise becomes a commodity, when the knowledge you spent 20 years building becomes instantly accessible to a recent graduate with an AI tool?
That's a profound identity crisis. It's not just a question of will I have a job, but who am I if the knowledge that defines me is no longer scarce or valuable? And the data shows this anxiety is widespread. Surveys reveal that a majority of workers are worried about how AI will impact jobs in general, and this worry is linked to poorer mental health outcomes and feelings of burnout.
And this deep-seated fear is exactly why the hype versus reality debate is so charged. When your livelihood and your identity are threatened, it's comforting to hear a naysayer tell you that it's all just hype. It's a message you want to believe on some level, because the alternative is too disruptive to contemplate.
It creates a powerful cognitive dissonance. It's hard for most people to know what's based in reality and what's nonsense.
And I think our own journey with Replit is the perfect narrative for this. We went through that exact cycle. We saw the initial hype and were amazed. Then we hit the wall of its limitations, the hallucinations, the lies we talked about in a previous episode, and we became deeply skeptical. We started to think, okay, this is clever, but it's not ready for serious work. But then a moment like Wednesday happens, a leap in capability that is so tangible and so significant that the ground shifts. The reality becomes undeniable. It moves from being a clever tool to an indispensable, world-changing partner.
Let's put an economic framework around that feeling, because what you experienced has a name. For decades, economists have talked about the productivity paradox. The famous quote from Robert Solow is, "You can see the computer age everywhere, but in the productivity statistics." For years, we've been pouring massive investment into IT and AI, but the expected explosion in economic productivity just wasn't showing up in the national data.
And there's a good reason for that, which can be explained by a concept called the J-curve of technology adoption. When a truly disruptive technology is introduced, productivity doesn't just go straight up. Initially, it often dips. Companies have to spend enormous amounts of money on the new tech. They have to completely redesign their workflows. They have to retrain their entire staff. All that disruption and investment can temporarily decrease productivity. That's the initial downward slope of the J.
And the numbers bear this out. One study showed that while firms have invested over $500 billion in AI, the combined earnings from those initiatives were only about $35 billion. Other studies have shown that even experienced workers can be slowed down when they first start using AI tools, because they have to change the way they work. For the last few years, much of the economy has been in the trough of that J-curve, feeling the pain of the investment without yet seeing the massive gains.
But what I felt on Wednesday was the J curve kicking in. It was the moment the investment and the struggle paid off, and the curve suddenly, violently turned upwards. It's the payoff phase, where the promised productivity gains finally become real, tangible, and overwhelming.
And the economic implications of this are profound. This isn't the slow, evolutionary change of traditional markets, where one company gets a small edge and competitors gradually catch up. In this new world, a handful of centralized AI providers can instantly alter the productivity of an entire global industry. When Microsoft integrates a more powerful AI into Office 365, or Google into its workspace, they create an economic shockwave that elevates the baseline for millions of businesses overnight.
And it's happening now because the investment is being made by profitable tech giants with decades of existing infrastructure, not speculative startups like in the dot-com bubble. They can afford to sustain the investment through the bottom of the J curve, which means the upswing will be powerful and integrated into the platforms the entire world already uses. The Replit moment is a microcosm of this. A startup leveraging the massive foundational model of a giant to deliver a revolution to its users. So if this is the new reality, if we're on the steep part of that J curve, what do we do? How do we prepare for a world that can get 10 times better overnight?
The adaptation that's required now is a fundamental mindset shift. In the past, you learned to use a tool, a spreadsheet, a word processor. The tool was static. Now, we have to learn to collaborate with a tool that learns and improves itself, constantly and instantaneously.
It's a promotion for everyone. As we've said before, your job is no longer to be the person executing the task. Your job is to be the director, the architect, the quality controller. You are in the goal business now.
The skills that become exponentially more valuable are the ones that are uniquely human: critical thinking, creative problem solving, strategic vision, and emotional intelligence. The AI can generate 1,000 lines of code, but it needs a human architect to define the structure. The AI can write 100 versions of a marketing email, but it needs a human strategist to define the campaign's goal and tone.
In a world of infinite AI-generated options, the ability to discern quality becomes the scarcest and most valuable resource. The premium is on human judgment, on taste. The value shifts from the generation of work to the selection and refinement of the best work. For example, Replit added a feature that lets you plan and discuss your plan with the AI. It puts you in the role of a project leader leading your team. And to be clear, when you're instructing Replit, you are talking to a team. Replit's system employs a coding agent, a testing agent, etc. Different agents work together, bringing different skills to the table. But throughout the process, you're in charge.
So the path forward isn't to try and compete with the agent on execution speed. That's a losing battle. The path is to elevate your role, to become the manager of these incredibly powerful agents. For those who can make that shift, this isn't a story about replacement. It's a story about partnership and unprecedented empowerment.
We started talking about a software update on a Wednesday and ended up redrawing the map of technological history. We've seen how the slope of change itself has steepened, how the mechanism of fleet learning is creating a revolution in results, and how we, as humans, are grappling with the awe and anxiety of this great acceleration.
And it's worth ending with a powerful refrain that's become common in the AI industry. It's been said that these AI systems, as powerful as they seem today, are the worst they will ever be. Every day they get better. And sometimes, like on Wednesday, they get a lot better all at once.
This story is only just getting started, so stay tuned.
And if you liked this episode, please share it with a friend. You can also find us on X at Verlicity AI, on YouTube, and all the popular podcast apps.
Until next time, I'm Cristian Worthington.
And I'm Sandra Giffin. Stay curious and embrace the new pace of change. We'll see you soon on the Verlicity AI podcast.